It has been a capital week in pro wrestling this week. Not only are we going to discuss a Olympic gold medalist at the top of the show, but we bring you results from two very well done pay-per-views, Impact's Victory Road and NXT Takeover 31, which I would say definitely brought back the takeover feel that we used to have. We also got a lot in the Savage Sentinel, a lot of negativity, a lot of bad shit, a lot of bad people.
Tell it the way it is, Fat Mac. This week, we're taking out the garbage.
We are taking out the garbage. It is garbage week. A lot in the injury report. It's just not good. There's some good. The pay-per-views were very good. But the news is more slanted to the negative side, Pasty.
As news should be.
At least in Trump's world, ain't it? But we got a jam-packed... Go ahead.
Seems to be painting a pretty rosy picture.
We got a jam-packed show, Pasty, but one thing, which I don't know if it's positive or negative, but it definitely hit me in the feels, is a certain name change that happened just recently. Do you want to take us off at the top of the show?
Yes, sir, Fat Mac. NXT Takeover 31. How in the world do you follow the amazingly golden show that was NXT Takeover 30? It's a tough one.
The golden shower.
No, NXT TakeOver had to be different. It had to change things because 30 left a bad taste in most people's mouths.
Wasn't good.
Probably the first one in 30 takeovers that sucked.
Legit. Like, there's been ones that weren't as good as the previous ones, but not one where you looked at and said, I don't ever want to watch any of these matches again.
Yeah. So NXT TakeOver 31 took place from a redesigned WWE Performance Center that's being dubbed as Capitol Wrestling Center, which is apparently what NXT will be using going forward. The move from Full Sail to Capitol Wrestling Center was due in part to the recent renovations and desire for live fans to return. Full Sail wasn't going to allow fans, and WWE wanted NXT to proceed with fans. Internally, this is being looked at as a quote-unquote restart for NXT. A new set with LED boards and the return of fans with some talent as well in the crowd. Because talent didn't pass it around in the Performance Center at all before.
No.
Having a fresh start in a renovated building, featuring a new set and live fans in attendance, should give NXT a rejuvenation to what it once had before the pandemic. Of course, all fans in attendance have to pass a COVID-19 screening, temperature check, and questionnaire to attend.
They will
I've
never
taken
lie,
some of
Pasty.
WWE's questionnaires. They're grating. Masks must be worn at all times.
They weren't worn at all times.
No, they weren't. Fans will also be in custom-built pods made from bulletproof glass.
Oh, the most bulletproof. These can withstand bullets from anywhere. Bullet Bill turned away when he's seen this glass.
Each group that arrives will be taken separately from everyone else to their pod prior to the start of the show. The same procedure will be used when exiting afterwards, and fans will not intermingle with any NXT talent.
Now,
except
see,
for the ones in the pods next to them.
I don't know what happened ahead of this, but I'm sitting here picturing, it says each group that arrives will be taken separately. Are they all just standing in line right next to each other before they go into the pod?
Right, yeah.
I don't know, but that's what I picture.
They're arriving for the whole week prior, like 2 groups a day at opposite ends of the day.
Right. Just wait here. We'll give you breakfast and lunch. Supper's on.
I just want to see, like, at the end, you're waiting to go home, and then the elimination chamber sounds and lights come on, like, picking whose random pod is going to go.
I feel like you're the person who just was at the bottom of the Ferris wheel when the ride actually stops, and now you have to wait for every car to get unloaded until you fucking finally get off the Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
And you're like starving for a chili dog, and you have to piss in the porta potty, and it's like, oh fuck! I just figured, like, you're the last pod, just like, god damn, when are they gonna let our pod out?
They got walls on the sides of those things for a reason. You just do your business, and then pretend it's a chili dog afterwards. Nobody will ever know the difference.
As JR would say, I don't wear khakis for a reason. It's all dark pants.
CM Punk shit his pants in a wrestling ring once. JR does it multiple times a week.
Oh. Why not?
And of course, a little bit of history. The name Capital Wrestling Center is a tribute to Capital Wrestling Corporation that was founded by Jess McMahon in 1953 and is run by Vincent J. I almost said Violent J. Vincent J. McMahon, which he would sell to Vincent K. McMahon, and he would eventually sell it to Vincent B. McMahon,
who would also work with Vincent F. McMahon.
He should have kept that running.
Empire.
What made him want to go Shane? Like, your name's Shane.
Do you want to know?
Yeah.
As somebody who comes as a legal third, you'd never want to name your kid the same name. It's been done. It's been taken. It's fucking stupid, and you're just not worth it. You're not that great that you need another human being to carry your legacy on with a full name. They got your last name. That's more than you fucking deserve.
Your progeny is not going to exceed your greatness anyway.
I'm telling you.
It's downhill every generation, I tell you.
Yeah, that's that's the way it is. I mean, that's just to me. You either go, you never name them after yourself, or you go the George Foreman route.
Right.
There's no junior. There's no third. Just everybody's your name, all the way down the line. I think didn't we just talk about this last week?
Yes, actually last week. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just go. How the fuck did we bring that up last week?
I don't know. He's going to have to start paying us soon, though.
He should. But yeah, there you go. It's either you go all the way or none at all. That's my thinking. No, I love the fact that they're actually branding their own thing. The Performance Center just sounded what it was. I mean, it sounded academic and juvenile and not even mid-card, like Jobber.
Yeah.
And Full Sail University, it sounds good, but it's not like a wrestling thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say Capital Wrestling Center, like that catches my ear, and they got a really cool logo that has the X in it so they can incorporate the NXT to it with the W. I don't know if anybody's seen the logo, but the logo is actually really badass. I like this. I like it because of the history.
I did see the logo. I enjoy it too.
Yeah, obviously I'm a mark for the history of pro wrestling, but I really like this. I'm sorry. I wanted to hate it when it first happened. I was like, oh, this is stupid. But I was just like, no, I love it. I'm sorry.
Hey, and that setup is pretty dope. I like the it's flat screens. It's not Rosa screens like on Raw and SmackDown, like staggered to look like fans. Flat screens, and it's on top of where the audience is. So you do, if you're in the audience, you're not sitting in the back of the arena hoping to see something.
And they have an actual cage, so you can do some cage match like kind of stuff, like grading their faces or throw people into it.
Hot glued to.
And well, yes, but to be fair, think of that as opposed to Raw and SmackDown, which have guardrails that are protecting the video monitors 20 feet away from the wrestlers. Why are there guardrails again? Oh, because wrestlers have wrestling moves that they feel they have to do on guardrails and can't think for them fucking selves and come up with something unique and new.
Right, yeah.
That's
since NXT started doing having like the trainees in the crowd and they had the plexiglass up. I like that they like can throw chairs at the crowd and shit. I feel like the plastic cage liner that's kind of just taped up there takes away from the fact that they can throw chairs at the crowd and scare the shit out of them. You know what I mean? Because they got that sense of security, even though it's clearly
clearly not.
poorly done.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I want to see more wrestlers throw chairs at fans. That's my thing.
That's Pasty's thing. He wants wrestlers to harm fans.
Yes. Well, no, there should be plexiglass in between, bulletproof.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, speaking of someone who's bulletproof, Pasty, let's talk about the cyborg Kurt Angle, who makes a little notch in history in this week's Week in Pro Wrestling History, as he made his debut appearance in TNA's Impact Zone, which might be the only wrestling center cooler named than Capital City Wrestling, in Orlando,
Capital
Florida.
Wrestling Center.
On October 9th, 2006. After the main event, Samoa Joe was informed that if he didn't relinquish the NWA Championship belt he had stolen from Jeff Jarrett, he would be removed from the roster. Well, Joe refused and ripped up the legal documents that informed him of such. Oh my gosh. Well, the lights went out, because that happens in wrestling, and Kurt Angle hit the ring and got in Joe's face. He actually headbutted the Samoan submission machine and hit an Angle slam on him. Kurt then held up the title belt, but Joe ended up hitting him from behind. Joe cinched in a choke on Angle, and security actually had to break them up. Now, while all this is happening, Jeff Jarrett came out and retrieved his belt because he was the official champion. After Joe was removed from the ring, Angle took the house mic and stated that he wasn't fired from WWE. He actually asked Vince McMahon for his release. He said he was back to wrestling and McMahon could kiss his Olympic ass.
They didn't play that as at his induction ceremony.
They didn't. They should have. This was an actual really good show. Not only did you get Kurt Angle appearing for the first time in TNA, which was huge.
Yeah, that was huge back then. You never expected to see big WWE names pop up like that.
Actually, yeah, back then he was the second big name. I would say Christian Cage, but I would say Kurt Angle's a bigger name than Christian Cage also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, there really wasn't. But the match also had Chris Sabin, Jay Lethal, Shark Boy, and Sanjay Dutt defeating P.U.D. Williams, Low Key, and Paparazzi Productions, which was Alex Shelley and Johnny Devine. Paparazzi Productions actually almost got onto my list of underrated factions. Kevin Nash was in that and a few others. But we also had Lance Hoyt and Ron the Truth Killings. Some know him as R-Truth, but he was a wrestler in TNA. They beat the Diamonds in the Rough, which was David Young and Elix Skipper, with Simon Diamond as their manager. And the main event had Samoa Joe retrieving the championship belt in an unsanctioned ladder match against Christian Cage. Of course, it was unsanctioned because he wasn't the actual champion.
Good times. Remember the fateful day Kurt Angle went back to WWE?
Oh, remember his final match in WWE against the amazing King Corbin in an all-out brawl that put Shawn Michaels and Undertaker to shame?
Yeah. Yeah, I would have just retired with Impact in hindsight.
You know, and Kurt is one of those people. I put Bully Ray or Team 3D Total in there that surprisingly not only had a longer career in TNA, but probably had some of their best matches in TNA. Christian Cage probably doesn't surprise anybody that his best matches were in TNA because he was a main event guy in TNA and he was a mid-carder in WWE. But yeah, Kurt Angle had spent more time in TNA than WWE, and so did Team 3D and a few others. So He helped make them, and nobody assumed at that time, 2006, that TNA/Impact would still be running as